Hi, James here. Now we're just going to have a look at finishing off this rain. If you like my tutorials, give me a thumbs up, leave me a message, and subscribe. The more views I get, the more tutorials I make. Also, just in case you're wondering, I'm still going to be doing animate tutorials. I will obviously be doing a few harmony tutorials as well. So let's get on with it. And at the moment, we've got this big block of particles which just doesn't work. What we need to do is get some velocity on these. So let's go to our network view. Don't be confused. This move particles just clamps whether you can actually move a particle or not. It doesn't actually move the particles. What you need for that is the velocity module from the particle library. So we'll grab our velocity, plug it in, and now we should have some velocity going. So let's go over to our camera view and our timeline. And as you can see, we have some movement. Unfortunately, it's not really what we want. We want our rain to be sort of sleeting in a 45-degree angle down the screen. So let's go into our velocity settings, and I'll change our maximum speed up to 0.8. And what we want to be doing is we want to be going in the Y direction. If you remember your sort of X-Y axis from school, we want to go Y, which is down, and we want to go down, so it's -1. So now you can see we're going down and across. We probably don't want to go across that much, so let's flip our X so we'll go 1 unit down and half a unit across. And so now we've sort of got some sleeting rain coming down. But now you can see our big problem is our rain is just all pointing the wrong direction. So what we need to do is fix this. We go into our sprite emitter, our rendering settings, and we've got an align to axis. So let's align it to positive Y. And as you can see, we now have our rain in the right direction. Now at the moment this is very sort of thick and heavy, and there's probably way too much for us to use in a scene because it would hide anything which is sort of behind it. So what we can do here is go to our sprite emitter, our generation, and let's turn our generation down to say 20 particles, and the probability 85. The probability is a number between 0 and 100, which represents the percentage chance on each frame that you'll generate these 20 particles. So some frames here sort of, a little bit more than 1 in 10 frames won't be generating any particles, and that gives us sort of unevenness about the rain. I like that, but if you want your rain to be generating 20 particles every frame, turn this to 100. Put a number in bigger than 100 and not to stay at 100%. So now we have our rain heading off in the right direction and not too thick. So the next thing I'd like to do is I'd like to add a little bit of variation so that there's a little bit of angle in it so that it's not all exactly the same direction. So in our velocity I'm going to use the random in cone, and as you can see now it's sort of gone haywire, and they're off in all sorts of directions, so that's just too big for us. So I'm going to turn the maximum angle down to 8 degrees, and now you can see we've got rain coming down at all sorts of angles, but not, it's kind of subtle. I might turn it down to 5 to make it a little bit more subtle. So now we have this rain coming down. You'll notice in the first frame I've hardly got any rain, but in the middle, every frame onwards, we've got plenty of it. You can easily get around this problem, so don't try and start rendering at frame 30 and starting all your animation there. You just don't need to do that. You can just go into the network view, hit your particle baker, and it says here pre-roll number of frames, so maybe I'll pre-roll 15 frames. And that just basically means start the particle animation 15 frames in. So now our first frame is where our 15th frame used to be. As you can see, we now start off with plenty of particles and we're creating plenty. So let's just sort of finalize this effect and add a couple of nice little touches. First thing I'm going to do is go into your sprite emitter, and I'm going to hit rendering and we'll add a directional blur based on frame. I'm happy to leave these at the default settings. So if we go to our camera now, go to our OpenGL view, you'll see we have some sort of towels. This does take a little while to do because it's quite heavy, because there's a lot of particles on the screen. So now you can see I have these towels. Now for me, I think there's just a little bit too much definition on the rain. So a way to get around this is you can head over to our network view, and we can just grab a blur module. And this is just a standard effects module, not anything special. So I'll just hit blur radial, plug this in. Remember to plug it the right side of our background, so our background's at the back. Give it a 1.5 to radius. Now we'll have a look at it in camera view. I'm just heading over to OpenGL view. You'll see that the particles are now blurred all the way through, and it's a very sort of fast, sleek effect. And if you don't like that, you don't have to do that. It's just, you know, an optional bonus in the end that you can use to add a little bit more control. So I'm just going to show you one more thing that you don't actually need for this rain effect, but I'd like to show you. With our particles, we can also kill them. So if you grab your kill, throw it in, you can then say, you know, how long they last. So if I set it to say 2, you'll see that they're not lasting very long. And if I play this, you know, they're not going all the way down off the screen. So if I turn it, I can make this a little bit more extreme, and maybe you see they're hardly living at all. So I'll turn it back up to sort of 10. And so that's how you kill your particles if you only want them, you know, to appear for a certain number of frames. And that's kind of important for an effect like a waterfall or something, where you want your particles to die at the bottom of the waterfall, and so you need to give them an age so that they don't just go on forever. Well, I hope this tutorial you found it interesting and you learned a little bit about the particle engine, and I'll be back with some more particle tutorials soon.